So with Easter coming up, I saw a pack of Peeps at the store and thought it would be fun to make little cakes with a layer of blue jello on top so they kind of look like little rubber duckies in the tub. Anyway, this is the part of the video where I'm supposed to tell you how awesome this recipe is and all the reasons why you'll love it, but these really didn't turn out how I was expecting them to, so this isn't that sort of video. Since this is 2024 and everything is simultaneously expensive and on fire, I wasn't about to throw out all of these ingredients. So instead of my usual how to make this recipe video, this video is about a baking disaster I had and how I managed to salvage it and wind up with cakes that at least my kids really liked. I'll show you what I did in case you want to try these for yourself. Maybe you'll be able to get this idea to work, or you can let me know in the comments where you think I went wrong. The first thing I made was some lemon sponge cake, which I thought would go well with the Peeps since they're basically just weird yellow marshmallows, and I figured that would make for a nice lemon meringue kind of thing. I started by separating out 8 eggs, which is probably my least favorite baking task. I always manage to get at least one piece of eggshell in that I have to fish out. Come on out, little guy. There you go. I wanted this cake to be really lemony, so I zested a couple lemons and rubbed the zest into 200 grams of granulated sugar. Doing that really helps extract every last bit of lemon flavor out of the zest. For the wet ingredients, I whisked together 160 grams of milk, 120 grams of grapeseed oil, 1½ teaspoons of vanilla extract, and a ½ teaspoon of lemon extract. Then I whipped the egg yolks, and once they started to get a little foamy, I started adding the lemony sugar a spoon at a time, then whipped at high speed until it was really pale and about tripled in volume. Then, with the mixer running on medium speed, I slowly drizzled the wet ingredients in and cranked the mixer up to medium-high for a few minutes until it was all smoothly combined. For the dry ingredients, I whisked together 360 grams of cake flour with 1 tablespoon of baking powder and a ½ teaspoon of fine sea salt. I added that to the batter a little at a time with the mixer running on low speed, then scraped down the bowl to make sure everything got incorporated. I transferred the egg yolk mixture to a separate bowl so I could thoroughly clean the mixer bowl and whisk attachment before adding the egg whites and a pinch of cream of tartar. You have to make sure the bowl is completely clean or the meringue won't whip up, but it's better to whip the egg yolk mixture first because it's more stable. Once the egg whites were getting nice and foamy, I started slowly adding 100 grams of granulated sugar, then turned the mixer up to medium-high and whipped the meringue to medium peaks. I added about 1/4 of the meringue to the yolk mixture to make it more similar in texture to the meringue, then added the rest of the meringue in 2 more additions. I sprayed a silicone baking mat with some baking spray before spreading the cake batter out as evenly as I could, and baked it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit until a toothpick inserted in the center came out clean and it sprang back when touched, which took me about 40 minutes. I let it cool in the pan for about 10 minutes before flipping it out onto a second silicone baking mat and peeling the first one off. I made the jello next because I wanted to give it some time to cool down to room temperature. There wasn't really anything special about it. I basically followed the package instructions, except I used half the amount of water to make the jello firmer, and I added some ice to the cold water to help it set up faster. Finally, I made some Swiss meringue to go with the lemon meringue theme. I was also hoping that it would work as a sort of barrier between the jello and the cake. First, I whisked 4 egg whites, a ½ teaspoon of cream of tartar, and a large pinch of sea salt in my mixer bowl over a pot of simmering water. This makes the egg whites safe to eat, as well as making the meringue a little more stable than just whipping egg whites and sugar. Which reminds me, I almost forgot to add the sugar. So yeah, I added 200 grams of granulated sugar and continued whisking until it reached 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Then I pulled it off the heat and used my mixer to whip it to stiff peaks and added about 2 tablespoons of the jello to it. That should help keep the meringue stable for a few days and prevent it from weeping. Finally, I put it in a piping bag fitted with a medium round tip. I want my cakes to have nice, perfectly straight sides, so I'm using these 3-inch tart rings and lining them with some acetate strips. First, I cut enough strips to fit around the inside of each ring with about a 1-inch overlap. Then I taped each one in a couple of places on the inside. I found a round cookie cutter that was the same size as the cake rings and stamped out enough circles of cake to go inside of each ring. I piped an even layer of meringue on top of each cake, going all the way to the edges, which I hoped would prevent the Jell-O from leaking. I skimmed the foam off of the surface of the Jell-O because I didn't want that in my cakes, and then I started ladling some into each cake ring. And this is where everything fell apart. I didn't notice it right away, but the Jell-O started seeping out and all over the baking sheet. I thought at first it was just because I didn't tape enough of the acetate strips where they overlapped, and that's what let the Jell-O leak out. And that certainly didn't help, but it looks like it was leaking in and around the meringue too. I guess this was the moment where I learned that meringue isn't Jell-O proof, or maybe I should have let the meringue set in the fridge before pouring the Jell-O in. I'm not completely sure exactly where I went wrong. If you have any suggestions, please leave a comment and let me know what you think. Anyway, after dropping a few F-bombs and then calming myself down, I decided to let these set in the fridge for a few hours and then see if there was any way I could salvage them. So I'll just remove the ring and the acetate strip and... oh no. Ugh. Deep breath, I'll try again. That's much better. I'll just smooth out the top, put a little peep right in the middle, and pipe some little dollops of meringue all around it to make it look like it's soaking in a nice bubble bath. There! No one will know I didn't mean to make it look just like that all along, except for anyone watching this video, of course. These didn't turn out like I wanted them to, but I think in the end they turned out all right, and my kids really liked them, which was really the point of making these cakes all along. If you've ever had a baking fail that you managed to salvage, I'd love to hear about it. Leave me a comment below. Thanks for watching!